Hello, I'm author Benjamin Boyd, and if you like me, you've probably seen a movie, a book, a commercial, uh, read a story, anything, and that you wanted to tell people about. You got excited about it. There was just something in it you wanted to say something about, and you wanted to be heard. And, well, that's exactly why I've started this book review, because, as you might notice, I like books. So much so, I made it my career. And I most recently read this book, Steampunk. It's an anthology book, so it's a collection of stories, edited by Kelly Link and Garvin J. Grant. They are authors and publishers as well. Uh, um, so you might want to check them out in some of their other works. Also, if you decide to look this book up yourself, make sure that you include their names in the title because you will get a bunch of results on Amazon, Books A Million, any website that you go to look for this steampunked book. That being said, let's get into the book itself. The book has several stories in it, all with various steampunk themes. Some of them more steampunky than others, I feel, from what I can understand about the context of steampunk. Now, before this book, I didn't know a whole lot about steampunk, but after reading it, I became very fascinated in it and did a little more research on what it was about and who enjoys doing it. And frankly, it's really, really cool, I think. If I'd known steampunk exists in high school, I probably would have been steampunk rather than just a huge nerd. Anyways, some of the stories are really good. Some of them are not so good. Some of them don't seem very steampunky. Other ones seem very, very steampunky, right on the nose. Uh, that's the general overview. But there's two stories in there in particular that really had me excited, and I wanted to tell everyone about them. The first story, the Clockwork Fagin. I'm pronouncing that Fagin because, well, pronouncing it any other way would probably be offensive. By Cory Doctorow. This is a very good story of this young boy, Monty Goldfarb. He ends up in a orphanage of sorts, a boys' home, where the headmaster, Fagin, is not very kind to the boys. In fact, he's abusive, cruel, cold-hearted, and the only time that he ever seems remotely nice as their caretaker is when the nuns come to check up on them once a week. He forces the children to go out and work for him, earning money, and then he takes the money for himself. He abuses them and he's horrible to them. He's broken most of the boys into doing whatever he says whenever he says it. But when Monty Goldfarb walks into the door, he thinks he's going to do the same to them. I just realized I should have said spoiler alert before going into this. So, from here on out, spoiler alert. I am going to reveal some of the plot points of these stories to you. I'm going to try not to ruin the endings for you, though. Okay? Okay. At any rate, so Monty walks into here, and he's the cockiest little boy you ever did see. He walks in all strutting. He's got an injured leg, but that doesn't stop him from being just as bold as ever. So the Fagin thinks he's going to work his magic on him, throw him down in the hole with the rats, and beat him soundly. He beats him good, throws him in the hole overnight. First, Monty's knocking and banging on the door, but after a while, quiets down. Oh, Fagin thinks that he's beaten Monty, broken him like all the other boys. But of course, when he gets Monty out, Monty turns on him, killing the Fagin. That's when things get really complicated. With Fagin dead, the boys needed someone to look after them for when the nuns come. Otherwise, the nuns might appoint someone even worse than Fagin. But Monty has a plan. With the help of his new friends, Shannon O'Leary? Shannon O'Leary. Sean O'Leary? S-I-A... Sheehan O'Leary. S-I-A-N. However you would pronounce that. I think I called him Sheehan O'Leary. He's the perspective the story is told from. Sorry about that. And he has a lot of admiration for this boy who's a bit younger than him, but possesses those qualities that we all wish we possess. Boldness, outgoingness, and, well, a devil-may-care attitude. So he puts his plan into work. His plan, of course, taking the very talented young men at the school, getting them off the streets and not abusing them, and deceiving the nuns. How does he deceive the nuns? Build a clockwork Fagin. That's right, a fake Fagin. He uses the first Fagin that he builds to trick the nuns on their first arrival is patchwork. He even utilizes the head of the old Fagin before it becomes all rotten and smelly, but eventually they get more complex, more advanced. Much of the story is told through the perspective of more of a boy's fantasy. You know, what if we ran the world? A fantasy I know that I personally had all the time as a young man. What if I ran the school or the classroom or my household? How would things be different? And the boys do actually really good job, considering that they all have usually had some skill or training that could be put to use to actually help the home, rather than just going out in the street and begging like Fagin had them doing, and then stealing their money. And for the most part, the home starts to run really well under this guise of these two young men. But eventually, things go bad. After another boy isn't allowed to come into the home, he can't quite adjust to the new world that he has to live in, recently losing his parents in an accident, and with the macabre specter of the clockwork Fagin, he becomes very unsettled. I don't want to spoil what happens from there on out. Just know that I love this story. If I had to rank it, I would rank it 9 out of 10. It was just so good. I really cared about the characters, and it really spoke to me on a level of this is a great adventure. And it had some very educational information involved in the story, even though it was a work of fiction. Information that blew my mind. And like I said before, I'm a nerd, so I love to learn new things. So definitely check out Cory Doctorow and The Clockwork Fagin if you'd like. I strongly recommend it. And you don't have to be a guy to enjoy the story. I'm sure lots of women have wondered what it would be like if they were put in charge when they were growing up. It's Lord of the Flies, boyhood fantasy. I think it's something that anyone can identify with, because we'd all wonder what the grass is like on the other side and whether we could do it better than those who are in charge. Like I said, 9 out of 10 as far as the stories go. Now, the other story that was in here, and the story that made me first really want to do this video, Steam Girl by Dylan Horrocks. Now, I looked into Dylan Horrocks, and he's a graphic novel designer and writer, and he has some really fascinating work that I want to go read. I think I've even ordered a couple of his books, or I plan on ordering a couple of his books. I don't know if I actually placed the order yet, but it's very fascinating stuff. Very cool. I would definitely go out and do some research on him. He's from New Zealand. He just seems like a cool guy. Now, the story of Steam Girl is told from the perspective of this boy. I don't believe they said there his name, but I think if I had to pick a name for him, it'd be Dylan. But he could also just be he's any old boy. He's rather unimpressive as far as it goes. He's not athletic, he's not very smart. For the most part, he likes to sit in his room on his computer, playing computer games or Call of Duty or whatever it is. But then he meets Steam Girl. He first sees her outside of the school in a black leather jacket, a blue dress, black laced up boots, and a flight helmet on her head with goggles. I think they just described a girl that I wish I'd known when I was in high school, but sadly, I didn't know her. Well, he becomes friends with this girl, even though she is a bit of an outcast. That being said, even though she's a bit of an outcast, and we don't get to learn much about her either, unfortunately, most of the story is told from the perspective of him and his lunch hour ritual with her, of her reading stories or showing him pictures from her special notebook about the adventures of Steam Girl. A skinnier, prettier version of this heavy-set, kind of nerdy girl sitting next to him throughout the stories. While she doesn't tell a lot about herself, she does tell a lot about Steam Girl. Steam Girl goes on these interplanetary adventures with her father in the Martian Rose, a spaceship designed by her mother that uses interdimensional engines to propel them through space faster than the speed of light. They go to Mars, meet kings and queens, go exploring through the jungles and deserts. They find themselves in danger, and Steam Girl always manages to get them out of danger. They're both kind-hearted and adventurous. They travel from Earth to Venus to Mars. Her stories really make you feel connected to not only the character in the stories, but to the Steam Girl reading the stories. And much like Dylan, as you learn more about both the girl Steam Girl and the girl who wrote the story of Steam Girl, who is also referred to as Steam Girl in this, you can't help but love them. Unfortunately, her less than, how should I say, accommodating attitude towards the rest of the school, she doesn't want to be one of the sheeple. And I guess is the best way to say it. Because she's a nonconformist, she does end up being bullied by Michael, the bully in school, who happens to be dating the girl that the boy I dubbed Dylan has a crush on, Amanda. And they use this to manipulate the protagonistic character a little bit. Even Michael beats him up for being friends with her. And it really becomes a huge plot point of these, especially Michael Carmichael, making her and his life a living heck as she goes through her day. As the story progresses, you start to wonder whether or not Steam Girl is just some girl that she made up in fantasy life that she wishes she had to escape her real life, or is she actually Steam Girl brought from an alternate dimension into this one? It's a story that I really questioned as the whole time I was reading it. And by the time the story reaches the climax, I became so invested in these characters. The primary character, Dylan, as I called him, he's not so much my favorite. He's kind of wimpy and shies away at the most intense moments. But Steam Girl, she stole my heart. I just really wanted to see everything about her and see how things end. And I think that's the earmark of great writing, when you can create a character that just reaches out and you care about them like you would a genuine person. And at one particular intense moment of the story, I had to shut the book. I was so nervous for what might happen to Steam Girl, I had to stop the world to prevent anything bad from happening to her. Of course, eventually, I did immediately open the book back up and finish reading it and find out what actually happens to her. And I'm not going to tell you exactly what happens. Things get really intense. And somewhere through it, you become very concerned about what's going to happen to Steam Girl throughout the story, as you get a little peek at the girl behind the drawings and stories that were shared at lunchtime. And you get to see that even though the adventures of Steam Girl are fantastic, the life of the girl behind Steam Girl isn't so much. I I will say that throughout the story, I was hoping that she was really someone who'd come from an alternate dimension. I'm not going to reveal whether or not she really was or wasn't someone from an alternate dimension. I'm going to let you read and find out. But Steam Girl by Dylan Horwick, I really love, and I'd really recommend it for anyone who's looking for a good read. Somehow he managed to really make me care about this character in just 54 pages. I was reading it, I was like, wow, well, yeah, 54 pages. And I just was hooked on what was going to happen next. Really, I don't know if it was because she reminded me of people that I might have known or just because I genuinely cared about her. As an author myself, I think he really has a talent, and if you really want to find a good read, maybe something short to read over, just kill some time into something, check out Steam Girl, and check out The Clockwork Fragan. Steam Girl gets a 10 out of 10. There's very few characters I've read about that I've loved so much as I love Steam Girl, and I think that's the point. If you can read inside a book and you can just love the characters like they're real people, then you have magic on your hands there. So, Mr. Dylan Horwick, you're a very talented writer. I hope you see this. I will tag your book in it, I guess, when I finish making it, so that you will. That's my book review of Steampunked. It is available on Amazon and Books A Million and all your normal publishing websites, or check it out at your local library. That's what I did. I love my local library. Get a library card. It literally opens up the world for you. And at most, they cost you $1. Most places don't even charge you. Mine, because I lost my old one, had to charge me $1. But still, you get a whole world of stuff that you wouldn't get anywhere else. Sure, you can go on the internet, but you're not going to get all these books for free on the internet. You're going to get book reviews of guys like me on YouTube telling you, go out and read these books. That's fantastic. Kelly Link, Garvin G. Grant, you did some really good books. You did a good job including the books in there. Kelly Grant, Kelly Link wrote one of the stories in there, and it's a really good story. I found it very fascinating, although I didn't think it fit the steampunk genre as much. It was really good. I also cared about those characters, and I love the level of imagination in it. But I would say it was an 8 out of 10 in terms of what it was, because I wasn't as invested in what was going on in those characters as it was in other ones. But 8 out of 10, that's still a pretty great score. I think that's all I have to say about it. In 20-minute video on one book that I just love. There's lots of other stories in here that everyone out there might find fascinating, depending on what your taste in books are. That's just my opinion. And as an author and amateur bibliophile, I wanted to share. So go out, pick up this book, share your thoughts with everyone. So maybe they'll go out and pick up their own books and get a library card. Come on. Even if you never use it, you might need it one day. What happens if the internet goes down? Wait, that would be too awful to say. Hope the internet never goes down. So, by all means, check out Steampunked. I hope everyone has a lovely day, and happy reading.